Right.
Okay, welcome to the Masterclass series, The Secret to Mastering Your Work-Life Balance as you succeed in your busy career. I am really excited about my conversation today with our guest, Lena Dolter. And Lena is an expert on busting out of overwhelm. So if you've ever been out of overwhelm, felt exhausted and burned out, this is really the masterclass for you. And as a clarity coach, Lena helps driven women break free of the soul-sucking grind that we can often find ourselves in, whether it's a job, a relationship, or just even a bad habit that we can be in. She will help you discover and gain the clarity and confidence to trust yourself enough to move forward without feeling the failure or getting stuck in failure. And so if you want to get out of your head and into your body, Lena is the coach for you, and she's going to be giving her expert advice on this topic. So I'm really excited to have this conversation. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I am happy to be here and excited to support you and all of the ladies watching.
Okay, so I've got to ask, I'm hearing from many women, in my professional career, and just as I talk with women on the phone, because I often talk with women who want to improve their life as you do. And so many of them are telling me they're burned out, they're exhausted, they just can't take it anymore. What's your sense of why this is happening? And what do you believe is the solution to this?
Yeah, great question. And I've been there, so I can totally relate. There's a couple things. First thing is, the one mistake that women don't know they're making all the time, is that they have the same amount of energy as a man. And what do I mean by that? I mean, men wake up in the morning and they just, their hormones, they are very predictable. They wake up, they slide, it's like you're going up a mountain. They peak around the middle of the day, they start to go down, and at the time for bed, they're ready for bed. That's how men's bodies work. Women's bodies are not like that at all. And when you work in a corporate environment, when you work in a man's world, I like to say, you are not only, you kind of believe you have to produce like a man, because, and it's conditioned, in my opinion, like we are raised in a society where the patriarch is the ruler at the moment. And because of that, in ourselves, I fully believe that we don't think we're enough. You don't think you're enough for what you do. And when you're working in an environment with a bunch of men and you feel like you have to do more or as much as them to get less pay, but an increase in your name, right? Like your title, then it all is like this downhill effect. Does that make any sense?
Well, it's an interesting perspective, because just today I noticed like my mood was a little up and down, a little more than usual. And I thought, wow, like what is going on? Am I tired? Am I frustrated? And what came to my mind is just, because I'm not achieving, because I'm not making progress in the thing. And it was so interesting that you share this, because I hadn't thought of it from that perspective before. Mm-hmm. Because I am in a portion of what I do is in a very male-dominated environment. I wouldn't actually have ever thought of that. So what do you see as a solution? Like, how do you help women kind of be aware of that and then tap into their own, I guess you could say, like, energy, and how to track it or be aware of it?
Totally. So there's a couple things that I do to help women. The first thing I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind sharing, how old are you?
I'm 49.
Okay. Good to know. I'm asking because if you are a woman who is menstruating, or even like coming off of that time of your body, one way to get really clear with your energy is to know where you are in your cycle. Because that is like the secret weapon to maximizing your productivity without burnout.
What's interesting, because I actually did ask myself, I wonder if like maybe I'm like having that monthly time.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah. Well, and because you just said that, I'll use you as an example if you don't mind, but I had a conversation like this the other day. Here's what happens, and tell me if you can relate. Women tend to go at a particular speed, right? And then all of a sudden you hit this wall. I don't know any woman who doesn't feel this. You think it's that you have too much to do. That may be one part of it, right? It could be a bucket sitting over there. but inevitably it happens, and it happens every single month. But instead of observing what's going on, you push through and you try to keep cranking it out at the same level of energy, right, that you did maybe a week or two ago. But it feels harder. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're reading my mind. I was actually having this same conversation with myself just
Yes.
a moment of like, wait a minute, is it a matter of like, I need to try harder, or is it a matter of I need to like rest and take care of myself? And and sometimes I think there's that, it's a different mindset of when do you know when to push through it, and when do you know to like relax and kind of reflect? So I'm glad we're having this conversation. I knew I was excited about this conversation for a reason.
Yay. Yeah. And to your point, when do you know when to stop and reflect, and when do you know to keep pushing through? I think that's a habit I'd like to break women of thinking, because I don't believe that there are very few times that I believe that any woman should have to, quote, push through. Those are going to be those times where, let's say, circumstances beyond your control are affecting what you can get done. Right? So I have a friend who's traveling in Rome right now. She's launching a course. She doesn't know where she's staying. So every day the internet's totally different. She's trying to create this space like you and I are in, to have conversations like you and I are having. And so there's all these external elements, right, that are affecting what she does. In that situation, like you're putting together this series, you have promised it to women by a certain day. So if you're not on your game, that might be where you push through, right? Like, even if it's in contrast to your normal energetic flow. So there's some very like nuanced times in which it's probably, quote, I'll say, okay to push through. But mainly what I find in the women who come to work with me, they just don't, the idea of them relaxing, pausing, and reflecting feels absolutely impossible, because there's so much that has to get done. And I get it. Like, I get it. I've been there. There is a way, smallest steps, right, to help you create that space, so that, and create more time, so that you don't feel like everything is a priority.
Mm-hmm. And I love this perspective, because it's like so different than what I thought you were going to say.
Yes.
Right. Well, it's so, I'm just like, wow, I love it because it's so simple, but there's an aspect where I thought, oh, that really makes sense. I wouldn't have like thought of it that way, but I intuitively felt like, I almost feel like I'm working against myself without even realizing it. It's kind of what I'm sensing that can happen with women when they've been told to push through it, because that's what I've been told, right? You just push through it.
Yeah. And it's like the demise of your inner feminine. And I get it. Like, you might be hearing this and be like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You must be speaking Swahili. But the feminine in us is like the energy that actually helps us to create. So the big problem is that not only are you spending too much time pushing through or working against yourself, you're also spending a shit ton of time in your head. Sorry, can I swear on your show?
Yes, I love it.
I won't say any other bad word.
Hey, you know what? At this point, my age, my menstrual cycle. Let's just go for it.
I know a little bit, yeah. So yeah, I mean, and that's also what really causes overwhelm. Like, actually keeps you in overwhelm is the thinking. And I know we'll talk about some tools that you can do, today, to help you get out of that. But that's just something to keep in mind. Like, if you're hearing the voice of, I should do this, oh my God, I have to do this, because those are the voices that I hear when I am putting pressure on myself.
Okay, so one of the things it sounds like that you can help tap into your own wisdom and just feminine awareness is like listening to that inner talk. Is that kind of what you're...
Yes, that's enough. Yes, 100%. Paying attention to when, first of all, I actually posted this on my Instagram account the other day, I'm Lena Dolter, you can find me there, talking very clearly about my should voice. And I call it the panic voice, or the judgment voice, because it comes in at certain times. For me, I had a situation, I wrote all about it over there, but it's where I kind of, quote, lost a client. I didn't lose a client. She worked with me for the amount of time that we were committed to work with each other. She had great results. She was able to leave her job, quit her job. That's what she came to me for, and get freelance writing, because that's what she wanted to do. So secure some income for herself so that she could move out of where she was going. But because she got what she wanted, my inner critic was like, you're not good at what you do. Instead of, wow, how awesome is that you helped somebody do what they wanted to do with you in 3 months. So I share that with you because I noticed it, because I heard my inner critic immediately was like, you should do a personal development course. Should you do a personal development course, Lena? Like, maybe that's what you need. Those are other words that come in. So I don't know if you can resonate with those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Where it's like, I didn't do enough. I need to do more.
100%.
Just enjoy what we've accomplished and recognize, because we think it's that sense of, I need to do more, accomplish more. It wasn't enough. And that leads the inner critic, but also just the overwhelm that you described. Right?
Yes.
Never enjoying and relaxing.
Yes.
Okay. So I love it. I want to ask you, because I love what you're sharing, and what I often hear women is, but I have so much to do. That's what I used to tell myself. I have so much to do. I've got all these responsibilities. So I'm curious, like, what is your definition of work-life balance? And what's the distinction between that and prioritizing? Because you mentioned that word earlier about prioritizing.
Yes. And I loved this question, because I think, first of all, I have to break all of your hearts, because balance is a myth. Balance does not really exist. Because if you think about it, life in general ebbs and flows. Like, there are some days, and there are some days where your list doesn't feel so impossible. You might still have a lot of things to do, but something, some way, somehow, it's kind of going along, right? At this pretty decent pace. What I believe in is inner harmony. So when you find this balance within yourself, or a harmony, which for me has been to get in total sync with my energetic rhythm, AKA my cycle, I can literally live my life in a really good, in a nice ebb and flow kind of way, because I'm riding the waves of my energy. It's like, there's a secret to this, and it's part of what I help my clients do. And there's more to it than just like tracking your cycle. There's also more to it than your cycle, right? So inner harmony comes from, too, that voice we were just talking about, like paying attention to your thoughts, what you're hearing, and what you're saying to yourself. And also, and I think this is huge for every woman, is we tend to take on too much. We say yes to everything.
Absolutely.
And that is not bad. And most women do it from a place of service. They want to help. They want to help. But then what happens is you find that you've taken on too much. You promised to help this person at 1, and you've got an appointment at 2, but the person that you promised to help, that call's gone over, and now you're running behind, and now you feel guilty because you hate being late. And it's that spiral of overwhelm that just keeps going because of the things that we're doing in our lives that perpetuate this cycle.
Yeah, that's so insightful. And, it just makes me see how things are interconnected. Like, when you're doing that and you're not listening to your inner just wisdom about what to say no to, because you think you need to say yes to everything, right? And especially in today's society, there's so much pressure, like, you don't want to miss out, right? I mean, that I can see how it's very easy to get overwhelmed unless you are in harmony with yourself. Now, you said something that totally got my curiosity, and I want to ask you about it. You said, how to ride the waves of your energy. Can you share a little bit more about that? Because that got my buzz. I'm like, oh, what is that?
Yeah. And let me tell you, it's, you said something that I wanted to pivot with, but I'll get it later. It'll come back if it needs to be spoken. So this goes back to what I first talk about with your cycle, right? So it's like, women, you come up against this wall. Let's say you're feeling really good. Things are moving along, chugga chugga choo choo. And then, like, you hit this wall where you're like, oh my God, I can't get out of bed. I'm exaggerating here, but this could be your life, right? You're like, you're really tired. You don't feel like working out for a variety of reasons, that, like, you just feel not like yourself. So it's that part of the time, that part of the cycle. Now, it could be a lot of things. It could be because you're overworked, could be because you're under rested, could be because you're eating crap, could be all of these things combined, and plus your natural cycle energy. So all of these factors come into play when you want to ebb and flow. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. So I guess what I'm thinking of is like, how would that look? So when you're helping someone, you kind of helping them kind of plan ahead and shape it like,
Yeah.
hey, these are the days to be productive. These are the days to rest. And
Yeah.
that's fascinating. Okay.
Totally. Yeah. And we work through that on an individual basis because every woman's different and there's a certain amount of time that you need to gather information of your own self. Think of it like your own personal clinical trial, because along with your own body, there are also external factors, right? Like you're doing this course, my kids got sick. I left my job. Like all these things factor in. So that is just this like gives us this. The cycle gives us tons of energetic information. And then the external pieces of your life give us information on how you're showing up in your life for these circumstances, thought processes, habits, patterns that are keeping you stuck. And then all of that weaves into this beautiful formulation that we move through and create some time and space for you, extra time and space. And then the clarity comes on why you're doing what you're doing. Like it's all like comes in. It's this layer by layer adventure. Let's call it that. That when you get it, when it clicks in your journey, your life, that's when the ebb and flow becomes a lot more natural rather than you trying to push through from ingrained habits, thoughts, and what other people think you should be doing.
And I love what you're sharing because I just had this awareness like, oh, even that can be a pattern, right? Like, no, that's what I do. I just get it done. No, it needs to happen no matter what. No, I just have to push through it. But it's so ingrained, like you don't even think that it's a habit that could actually be keeping you stuck because you're thinking, no, that's what you do to get things done. Mm-hmm. And it was so funny because earlier today, so I've now blocked out my time because I'm actually practicing what we're talking about because earlier I said to him, and he starts laughing because like, duh, it took you this long to figure it out. I said to him, I think I have a really hard time relaxing. I think
he's like, welcome to yourself.
Which is great because I think the moment that you give someone clarity, I can see how that just like, that the weight of overwhelm just starts to fall away because that's when someone can start to have more empowered choices like, maybe I'm going to carve out some time for me to rest and do nothing. And even though my mind's going to say I have to be productive, what if I just followed my intuition and allowed myself to relax? But I love how you described it at harmony because I think if I hadn't done some inner work before, there might be more inner conflict about that.
Totally. And for those who haven't done inner work or like don't even know what that means or like, and I'm sure you have an audience that does know that, but what you just said about getting clear, like that's your first step. The first step to knowing that you're in anything, right? Like let's just use AA as an example, right? Like the first step is to admitting you have a problem. So I'm not saying you have a problem, but the first step is getting clear, like that awareness you just had for yourself. The next step usually requires support from a coach or a therapist, right? Mostly a coach, they kind of set you through, going forward, but like to implement then the next thing that will start to undo the pattern of what you've been doing that now you have clarity on.
Yes. Okay. And this is a great segue. I love what you just shared because it brings us into the next question. So can you share some tools and practices that women who are, driven, ambitious like us, how would they start to untangle that and get themselves out of overwhelm and start to step into this harmony and flow? And I like to call it ease that you describe, right?
Totally. Yeah. And there's, here's what I'll share. So the first thing that I know that really helps women, busy women especially, is some sort of routine. So we talked earlier about when you prioritize or when you distinguish between the harmony and the priorities, then, that's what's going to potentially create that work-life balance for you, right? So it's really easy for me to be like, self-care is a priority but that's like hogwash for me to share. Like that's something that is a tool, but it's not something that you can implement right now. But one thing you can implement right now, tonight, if you choose, is to look at what you're doing at night. So I know it's Friday, so it might be a weird day whenever this is airing. But for us, it's Friday. So you might be going to happy hour. Your day might be a little different. But what do you do at night on a regular basis? So observe it. Why? Because there's something that you're doing at night that you can either, I like to call it an edit. You can either edit it out so that you can get better sleep, so that you wake up feeling refreshed and you have more time in your morning, or something that you long to do that you're not doing, like reading or journaling. I know a lot of driven women really love to read. And it does bonus tip, it does help relax your mind and put you to sleep. So reading nonfiction at night, fiction, I always get those two screwed up. Fiction at night would be a great something to edit in. But one thing that you can do today or this weekend is to just look at what you're doing so that you can take something out, AKA scrolling on your phone till 11 p.m., keeping it next to your bed, and then anything that turns on, it's coming at you, right? That's one thing you can do. The second thing that will be really helpful, and it's part of my free gift, it is my free gift, is have a 5 minute a day habit. And I'm going to build that in for you because Shannon's generous enough for me to offer you a gift. So I'm giving you a gift of a 5 minute habit that helps you get clear, confident, and centered. 5 minutes, boom. The third thing that I swear by, and it is easy to do, is we talked earlier about getting out of your head, because that's where overwhelm will go out of control and you'll spin and spin and spin, like especially if you're a perfectionist, like most driven, ambitious women are. I mean, no disrespect, I'm the same, I get it. The best way and fastest way to get out of your head is to go outside. So if you're working in the corporate environment, you've got time to go to lunch, right? Or you're in your own cubicle, let's say. Get your ass outside for about, just walk around the perimeter of the building. Frankly, 5 minutes will help ground you and get you clear.
Absolutely. And even if you're already starting in your own business or doing a hybrid,
yes.
Because I hear a lot of entrepreneur women where they have the same struggle. It's like, isn't that why you left your job in the first place?
Totally, right? Yeah.
And then they're at their desk all day, right? And they're like, it's been 12 hours.
And I'm exhausted, yeah.
Well, and what I love about that is it kind of breaks through the excuses where we say, well, I don't have the time. Like, you don't have 5 minutes. Like, if you don't even have 5 minutes, things are even worse than you thought.
Yes, you needed some CPR fast. But I love what you just said too, and I would love to second that point about even those women who are either doing a hybrid business or have left already corporate. I will admit, there are many days that I leave my house, I go out with the dog, I walk around the yard, I walk her around the block, but I'm not leaving my house to go do work, right? And that's my own little grind that I'm working through, right? So to your point, everybody can walk outside. Even if it's snowing, by the way. So no matter where you live, you can walk outside and you can take a breath of fresh air and you can come back, and I promise you, you will feel better.
And what I love about you, I have to share, is we were connecting before the interview, and I love you like, okay, I'll see you soon. I'm going to go meditate. I'm like, I love that she totally practices what she preaches.
Well, thank you. The story behind that, Shannon, is I typically will meditate in the morning. But I got up, so I'm on day 25 of my cycle, and I don't know if it's because I ate late last night and I also indulged in some vegan ice cream, that I got up at 2:30 in the morning. If that, both of those things play into each other, because normally my not full rest nights are like day 19, 20, 21. I'm sharing this with you because I pushed snooze this morning for an hour. That doesn't happen. So I'm giving you real life situation. But I felt myself beginning to be like, that critic, I have to do this, I got to do this, I got to get there. And I had a lot of appointments. I have this meeting with you, I need to put face on, put on some clothes, like all that stuff. So yeah, that's why I shared that with you, because I knew if I didn't do it, and even though it was late, like not in my normal time, I am committed to how that makes me feel. And that's why I keep going back to the practice. So once you get a practice that works for you, we can certainly work on that together, then you're drawn to how that makes you feel. And that helps create the consistency of you keeping up with it.
And what I love about what you just shared is that, because sometimes, especially if we're perfectionists or recovering perfectionists, is that we get, oh, well, it's too late. Like, no, I was supposed to do in the morning. So now I'm on to the next, but no, you're just trusting you're in. No, I'm feeling I need it. I'm going to give myself the space to have it, and getting out of that rigidity, like perfectionism kind of thinking that we can get into.
Yeah.
And just taking that time to get grounded and centered for the clarity to come in. So I love that you shared that, because I think it helps people, it really helps women to see like, oh, sometimes I may have to shift how I do things and learn to be flexible in my thinking. That's why I love everything you shared was so different than what I've heard before. It's so fascinating. It's such a different perspective. It's like, whoa.
Well, I love that we get to have this conversation and I get to share this perspective and hopefully create more whoa moments for these women watching and be able to help them in some way, like through what you're bringing together. So thank you for inviting me. It's been
absolutely. And before we talk about how to get to know you more, what's also coming to my mind too is I can now see the connections. Like when you take that time to gain clarity and get more harmonized with yourself, oh, that makes sense to me how the confidence comes in. That makes sense to me how you feel more grounded, and why even something as simple like a 5-minute habit can make such a big difference when you've laid some of that foundation, or even starting there. So I'm so excited to hear about how women can get in touch with you, receive their free gift so they can learn about that 5-minute habit that's going to make a difference. And I love that, because I remember when I was first this is several years ago, when someone's like, just even relax for a few minutes. Well, what is 5 minutes going to do for me? I was at that mindset.
I understand. I'm the same way, but there are studies out there that show that just even 2 minutes of sitting in silence is super powerful. Exactly. And not just for overwhelm. It's like your whole entire body benefits from a 5-minute habit or less. So yes.
That's the power of something that's like 5 minutes, but the difference that you'd be surprised what a 5-minute focus, affected habit, what it can do. Cause I think I did, it was 2 minutes and I was stunned by the difference it made. So I love that you have something, because for some women too much, 30 minutes would feel, oh, I don't even have time, but there's no reason why you can't carve out 5 minutes. And, I'd really invite all the women to snatch that, because you will be so surprised what a huge difference 5 minutes can make for you emotionally. And it just allows you to show up in a more loving way, right? Whether it's to your kids or your partner or your friends, or just, your work or your business, whatever it may be. So I love just the simplicity of that and the power of it. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, good. So I'm excited too. And the power really is all those things, but also the power you give yourself when you take that time, because that you can't give all that you're giving if you're not full. And many women, that's where they're not filled, whether that's emotionally, physically, even with food, right? They're not filled. So this 5-minute habit is great, because all you have to do is download it and listen to it. You have a guided 5 minutes with me to go from chaos to calm. So you're going to get clear, confident, and centered in 5 minutes. And you can listen to that baby as many times as you want, but it's made especially for you, for the driven woman who you just need that time to get grounded. So this will get you out of your head and into your body in a super simple way. And there's nothing you have to do except click on it, download it, and play it. That's it.
That's the ease part, right?
That's it. Yes, that's the ease. That's the ease.
Yeah.
And by doing that, also, just so you know, you mentioned like when you when you decide that gift is for you, then you're included in my newsletters, which just means that you're going to get updates on my upcoming mini retreat, which is Go From Chaos to Calm, and my upcoming course in January, which leads you through a 6-week course to really get even more anchored in the things that I talked about today. So creating those healthy boundaries so that you have more time, you know, getting really clear on where your body is and what there'll be a couple weeks dedicated to the information on the cycle and how to use it, just so you get a background on that. But I'm really excited to bring this to life and birth it, if you will. So when you get this 5-minute free habit, 5-minute habit, you'll be in the know on what's coming up for you, which is great.
Awesome. Thank you. And can you share with the audience how to just get in touch with you? There'll be a link for the free gift, but in case they want to just gobble you up and know more about you, how can they, now that you're freeing up more time for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that you have all this time. Yeah. So one thing that you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Lena Dolter. You'll see my name in the emails and all the good stuff that Shannon's putting together for you. And if you want to contact me directly, my email is lenadolter@gmail.com. And that's Lena Dolter, Dolter. Again, you'll see it at gmail.com. And my website's Lena Dolter. So you have all the things Lena.
Lena and more.
Yeah, you can't not find me. So I look forward to hearing from you and to seeing how this 5-minute habit impacts your life. And thank you, Shannon, for putting this together.
My pleasure. Lena, thank you so much for being our guest expert today. I've seriously enjoyed this conversation. It's been so enlightening. And so it's been such a pleasure having you on our Masterclass series, The Secret, and now you know it, to mastering your work-life balance, which is a myth, as you succeed in your busy career. All right. Bye.